is the punk rock powerhouse, Brawlin Bo Cooper, and you're listening to Drinking at Big Mo's. Tune in or tune out.
Hey everybody, Big Mo here. Wanted to take a little break to welcome the sponsor, Reaper Apparel. They want to encourage everybody to break the mold, live your best life, live your best self, just break out of that comfort zone. Use code DRINKIN when you go place your order to get 10% off. Some great quality stuff, great quality people. Glad to be a part of the team. Let's fucking go. All right, everybody. Welcome to Dream the Mo's. Host Big Mo here. Be sure YouTube, like, subscribe, all that good stuff, because it helps out with that pain in the ass YouTube algorithm. Don't cancel me, YouTube. But we're also Apple, Google, pretty much anywhere you can find your podcast. Today, I have with me Brawlin Bo Cooper. How you doing?
Good, man. Thanks for having me. I appreciate being on here and talking with you this evening.
Oh, yeah. Was very much looking forward to having you on. The thing I like to start off with is what got you started as a fan, and then what got you started, deciding to make the leap into the business.
Growing up as a kid, I always watched, WWF at a very young age. I'd have all the action figures. My friends would come over, we'd wrestle in the living room, jump off the couch on our beanbags. And, I was just always intrigued by watching pro wrestling as a young age. I started going to the house shows out here in Los Angeles. My mom would take me whenever WWF came to the LA Sports Arena or the Long Beach Convention Center. And I'd show up and, be a fan and a mark and enjoy myself for the evening. And then one night I showed up to the arena and a lot of the wrestlers were walking in, and I was early, and I was trying to get autographs and stuff. And I told one of the wrestlers that walked by me, hey, I want to do this for a living just like you one day. And I was probably about 12 years old at the time. And he actually stopped and said, hey, if you're serious, kid, here's a phone number, to call. It's a wrestling school. So he gave me the number. I called like the next day or whatever. And I said, hey, I'm 12. I want to come be a wrestler, and they said, well, you're a little too young, kid. Hit us back in a couple, years and we'll see what we can do. So fast forward to 94. I was listening to a local radio podcast, like back in the days when it was on cable TV or non-cable TV. It was like Shadow's wrestling show. And he was talking about a wrestling school. So I wrote that number down and I called it, and I brought the piece of paper that the wrestler gave to me to this new school. And I actually showed it to the trainers, who were Bill Anderson and Jesse Hernandez. And they recognized the handwriting and they said, that's their student, Louis Spicoli. Funny enough, Louis Spicoli actually came down the same day that I started training at the school. And I gave the $500 deposit, I think it was. And I was 14 and Louis was in the ring with me, and off we went. We started training, and it took me 2 years to gain my first professional wrestling match because I was a baby-faced, blonde-haired kid, and I had to learn the ropes with all the tough guys in there kicking my ass every week, but I never stopped. And I had my first match in 1996 and never stopped after that. So
that's awesome. You bring up a good point when it comes to getting started training, that I notice some guys getting kind of, lack of a better way to put it, frustrated because, they think, oh, I'll get in training and I'll just get my first match on a show right away. And
yeah, a lot of guys are, being fed, spotlight too quickly, in my opinion. And I know it sounds like a broken record, but, I'm old school, man, when it comes to like paying your dues, training hard, showing up every week, keeping your mouth shut, ears open, learn as much as you can while you can. You never stop learning in this business, but, I've seen way too many young kids nowadays just, show up whenever they want, show up late to training and, fuck around in the ring. And, it disrespects the business, in my opinion. But, things have changed, man. It's not like it used to be. You had to earn your spot tenfold back then. Now, pretty much, if you have the money and you want to be a wrestler, anyone can probably get in the ring nowadays and start being a wrestler, or a promoter for that matter.
Yeah, that is a good point. You see a lot of guys out there and you kind of wonder, what are they doing? And sometimes even promoters, same way. It's like, okay, it brings me back to line from Jurassic Park. It's like, just because we know we could, didn't think about if we should.
Right.
But you've been, Southern California at, the time I was stationed down there, even still now, considered a hotbed of a lot of independent promotions. And you've been, EWF, there's AWS, but I'm actually familiar with the alternative wrestling show, because when I started going to some of the indie promotions down by San Diego, I would always hear about AWS. And like, I remember in particular, like a world record, like battle royal that they put on.
Yeah.
I didn't get to go to the show, but I heard about it.
I was involved in that. I don't remember the specifics, but I remember that it was, I think, like 100 guys or something. And then it was 2 rings. I remember it being really cloudy that day, and it was an outside show. But it was fun, man. Yeah. I think it was, you remember that? It was like 2 rings. I was talking to my wife because she always go to the shows with me, but yeah, that was fun. AWS was great, man. Bart Kapowski, we're still friends. He used to run out of the City of Industry at the Frankenstein's Collectible Show. And that was a real special time for me in wrestling, because, we'd go down there every Saturday morning, or anytime he had a show, I'd be booked on the card, wrestle at like 1:00 in the afternoon, be done by like 2 or 3, shoot over to his booth, because he had a wrestling store, alternative wrestling store, that's what his promotion was called at the time. And instead of getting paid in cash, we would just go through the videotapes or the figures or whatever we wanted, and he would say, "Yeah, that's your pay for the day, man. Grab a tape." So we would do good in the ring, and then go home and do our homework, watching the tapes that we would take from his shop.
Oh yeah, no, I've heard lots of great things, and that sounds pretty cool. I mean,
yeah, I'm a former AWS tag team champion with a guy named Sexy Chino. He did like a little funny dance gimmick, and I was like his bodyguard for a while. So we got the straps, which was nice. And then Scrap Daddy Iron Pierce was the Bart's right hand man at the time, and he took really good care of me while I was there. So it was a fun time being a part of AWS for sure.
No, I can imagine Adam Pierce being right hand man at the time. He's on to pretty big things right now in the role he's playing there with WWE.
Long overdue, man.
Oh, totally agree. And I particularly loved when, I forget how long ago, it was maybe a couple months ago, Ronda Rousey was still the SmackDown Women's Champ, and got in his face, and like, for a minute there, you could hear him cut like very old school Scrap Daddy Iron Adam Pierce promo that just, oh man, I remember
got him fired up.
Oh man, it's so dead. I remember just being cool, like, man. Holy
he's a good
shit.
He's a good guy, good worker, good person. So,
and some of the people that have gone through, going back to AWS, I have had a handful on, and I heard a while back about them possibly coming back and doing shows, because they haven't really done much with the AWS as of late. I don't know if anything is really set in stone yet.
I haven't heard much. I did see Bart a while back at the Frankenstein's. They switched venues, so it's like a big warehouse, Costco type, rather than like a smaller swap meet style. But I went down there to go to a friend's signing, and he was there. Bart's the head security there, so we talked and caught up, and it was great to see him. And I didn't really ask him if he was planning on returning to the Federation, but you know how this business is, man. If it's in your blood and you get the itch, I'm sure you'll find a way to do your promotion or get in the ring somehow, or whatever you got to do to be back in the business,
Oh, totally. Bring up a thing that I've actually had the thought come up with. Some of the friends that I've had up here have they've had me along in little bit roles here and there, walking somebody in their ring, a special guest ring announcer for a match. And I'll give that to you. There is something about when you get in front of one of those crowds, even if just for that short little bit, you get that little taste of it. And it's like, I want more.
Yeah. No, I mean, if it wasn't for the fans, we wouldn't be where we were or being a part of the business. Fans are what makes the shows, man. So it's definitely an adrenaline rush when you go out there and do your thing.
That is true. And one other promotion that I wanted to go over is XPW. They starting their rebirth. They getting back rolling in there. What is it like being a part of that rebirth? Because I know I was a fan of the original product. I haven't got to see too much of this rebirth of theirs, but I'm hearing plenty of good.
Yeah, man. When XPW was in its glory days back in Los Angeles, and when they were touring to Philadelphia and all that, I was pretty hot at the time on the scene, and I was trying to make myself known and work different promotions. But I know when I did try to go work for XPW in I think it was 2000, maybe 2001. I'm terrible with dates, but around that era, I talked to Rob for a quick minute at the office, and I said, I'd love to be a part of your company. And he said, well, we have an exclusive, situation where if you are a part of the company, you can only work for for us. And I said, I don't know if I want to do that, because I was trying to make a name and go everywhere, even though XPW probably would have given me a bigger name at the time because they were so hot on TV and everything. I turned it down. And then I did get a chance and an opportunity to work a show for XPW's Cold Day in Hell. I was a manager for my good friend, Smiley Ryan Katz, GQ Money. He has so many different names.
Yep.
Mr. Black was not a part of that at the time. But I got a little taste of it, and I always wanted more. And then when they finally announced they were going to be coming back to LA full time, I said to Rob, I said, hey, I'd love to be a part of your company. And he said, well, if you show up, kid, we'll do something with you. So ever since the rebirth, I've been a part of every show so far, and it's been great, man. It's like a family. All the guys and girls in the back, we bleed for the business. We love the business. It's we kick ass, for each other and each other. So. Rob's been nothing but great to me, and it's a great promotion to be a part of, man. Especially I'm going obviously at a slower time now in my career and slowing down. My body's pretty fucked up from all the bumps and bruises and broken bones, but what a better way to go out if I do end my career than to be a part of XUW, because number one, the nationality exposure they have is great. Number two, like I said, all the guys and girls are great people to work with, man. They're just good people and friendly and cool, and it's always a good time.
Oh yeah, no, that is a great way to wind things up. I know when I heard about them coming back that I was, I've heard some people talking about, oh boy, remembering the controversy from the the story that was told all over the dark side of the ring. And I'm like, seeing it coming back, and it's that's completely in the past for them right now. And I'm happy to see that, because I mentioned big fan of the original product, so getting to see that minus the chaos that happened with all that, definitely a good thing.
Yeah, well, you just got to remember there's always two sides to every story, and
yeah,
there's a lot of shit that went down and a lot of political things. I wasn't there for the time, so I don't really have the audacity to speak on it. But it's one of those things where so far with my adventure with XPW, it's been nothing but the best. So
no, that is awesome, and that can't speak for stuff in the past, but the fact that they seem to, like I mentioned, be putting all that behind them and moving on to good things. They got, the stuff other stuff they were known for, the King of the Death Match being back and having that title. Schlack's doing amazing things there. And
Schlack's one crazy motherfucker, man. He's a good dude, and he'll tear your head off if you cross him. But I mean, that guy definitely puts in work, man, for the deathmatch scene. He's great worker.
Oh yeah, and you bring up him tearing your head off if you cross him. I know, just looking at him, I'm like, yep, nope, I'm definitely not even going to test that.
Right.
But I remember I've talked with a few people. You brought up GQ Money. I actually had him on one of my earlier episodes, and another guy that was on, I believe he actually started going on there a little more full time. Terex, that he, from what I remember him telling me, he got started there going, and it was just kind of a spur of the moment thing. He showed up for the King of the Deathmatch tournament, wasn't even on the card, and then I think so somebody couldn't show up, and then somebody pointed at him, and then boom, there he is.
Yeah, I think he wrestled Big fucking Joe, and he killed it. I mean, they went out there and just absolutely, bled all over the place, and Rob saw that, for him being such a big guy, Terex, is he could handle, the XPW style, and he can move, which is great. And my last match was with Terex at XPW. It was me, Terex, and Judge Joe. It was a hardcore 3-way, and we tore it up, man. We had some good spots in there, and people loved it, man. And I came out victorious because I'm Brawlin Bo Cooper, of course. But no, Terex is another guy, man, that nothing but respect for, and I'm glad that Rob's using some local talent too, rather than just flying in a bunch of workers from all over the states, because Terex can move. He's a big boy. He's bigger than me actually, but he can actually do a standing moonsault, which is pretty impressive.
Oh man, you bring that up. He was actually involved in the promotion that ran my first ever independent wrestling shows that I went to down in San Diego. And I remember the first time I saw him pull off one of those, my jaw was literally on the floor. I literally thought to one of my friends that, I'm like, dude, you got to come watch this. And we came out, and Terex was in the match. I'm like, dude, watch this. And he was just about to hit one of those. My friend just looked at me like, holy shit.
Yeah, no, it's definitely a big man's move that is very rarely seen, and he can do it. So
Oh yeah, no, he's definitely one of those that for his size, you wouldn't think he'd be able to move around the way he does, but he sure as hell can do it. But I got two categories that I kind of like to round things off with. One's a bit of a name game. I name off some people, like to tailor it to the guests, where I'll go do my homework, go look through matches, name off some people from those, and you give me your thought.
Is it just one word, or can I speak on it more than just
you can speak on it for a little bit. That's fine.
Okay, sure.
First one, guy doing big things with New Japan, Rocky Romero.
Old friend. I used to train with Rocky back in the old San Bernardino East Street days. Me and Rocky have wrestled not a lot, but we've had two, from what I can remember, outstanding matches one-on-one. One of them was in Newhall, and it was a funny story because he showed up super, super late, right before the main event, man. We were scheduled to be the main, and he was like in his prime in Japan at that time. And I was, so blessed to see him and happy that I was going to get to work him, because he's just an outstanding talent, so smooth in the ring. I mean, we barely talked about anything. We went out there and just our similar styles from, being trained by the same, trainer definitely helped. But he said, hey, just, put heat on me and I'll come back, or I'll put heat on you. You come back with a big finish, and we called it in the ring, man. We had a great match, and I'm glad he's still doing this thing, man, because I mean, that guy is just pure talent.
Well, definitely.
So shout out to Rocky Romero, old friend. It's I miss you, buddy.
Oh yeah. Well, I'm excited everything he's doing, and definitely got a great mind for everything.
You can go on YouTube and check out our match if you haven't seen it, me and him.
I'll definitely be checking that out. Next up, made her return not all that long ago to WWE, Candice LeRae.
Once again, an old friend. Candace was trained by Jesse Hernandez and out of the School of Hard Knocks and Bill Anderson. So I mean, I watched her grow up basically from a young teenage chick to now making it as a woman in the WWF, which is cool, man. Anytime I see people that I've grew up in the wrestling business be successful, I applaud that. It's tough getting signed, and she stuck with it, man. She's been on a long journey. I think it was it's probably like 22 years or something. I mean, she's been doing the wrestling scene, and I'm glad she's in there and kicking ass.
Definitely, and definitely enjoyed that first match back when she finally came back. And I'm excited for everybody that's been coming back there recently, because all the stuff with all the releases that happened and seeing people getting to come back to what they love doing.
Correct.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Next up, another guy that came back to WWE recently, also did his thing, New Japan and Impact, Carl Anderson.
Are you going down the list, man, of guys that I've worked with in the past, or is this just random?
Kind of randomly selecting people that you worked with in the past.
I was I want to say I was Carl Anderson's first opponent. I could be wrong, but I think I was his first opponent defending the British Commonwealth title in AWS. And I didn't really know who he was. I heard the name, but I never met him before our match, and we went out there, and ever since then, man, we become good friends, and he's a hell of a talent, man. And he definitely gets heat from the crowd like no other. Carl Anderson is one of the boys for sure, man. He's a character, but he's definitely, another guy that I'm very happy to see, be successful, because he earns it for sure.
Oh, definitely. And I've always gotten a kick out of him.
Yeah.
Next one, last but not least, Lil Cholo.
Little Cholo is a legend in the Southern California wrestling scene. Hell of a worker. He's been around just as long as I have, or maybe even longer, because I know he was doing some stuff, lucha style at the Anaheim Marketplace with Martine Marin, probably like at 95, 96, man. So yeah, Little Cholo is great, man. I mean, I every time me and him are in the same locker room, we always get along. We joke and laugh, and yeah, he's a good guy, man. I haven't seen him in a long time, but I know he's still out there doing some shows and shit, and hopefully everything's well with him.
Yeah, no, he is definitely somebody that I grew to admire when I got to watch him the handful of times I did when I was stationed down there. And, I still got some pretty good friends down there that, keep in contact with him. SoCal Crazy, Rick Ellis, that I both had on the show, and excited for SoCal Crazy in particular, because I know after he battled cancer and won, and planning on getting back there in the ring, and is slowly getting back there. I imagine it won't be too much longer.
Yeah, SoCal Crazy is a good dude, man. I've wrestled him a couple of times, and we tore it up, and he was always telling me compliments afterwards, because I could, as a big guy, 6'2", 380, I could move like a luchador if I need to, which was kind of my downfall in a weird way, sometimes, because I always got told by some promoters say like, hey, you should work more big man style rather than fast pace. But I can go when I need to go, and me and him definitely at the EWF show, we went, and it was a good match. I'm glad he's doing better, God, thankfully, from what he went through with the cancer. So
yeah. And I remember shortly, I believe it was right around the time that he announced that he got deemed cancer free, that I was seeing a bunch of people with the shirts of his. I remember talking to him, I'm like, how much for one of them shirts? I want to get my hands on one of them. And he's like, what's your size? I told him, and he's like, what's your address? I'm like, how much do I owe you? Like, your family, don't even worry about it. I'm like,
that's cool. Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh, that's awesome, man. That's awesome.
Oh yeah. I made sure, I'm like, you sure? Like, I can pay you for this. And he's like, Dad.
No, he's one of the good guys, man. He's definitely a good dude. So
totally. Next category I have a bit of a random question round. Some might be wrestling related, some might not be. I never really know until I put together the notes.
Okay.
First question, craziest in match moment.
Two come to mind. I would say like crazy as in like scary crazy or like something dangerous or like anything can be crazy.
Whatever comes to mind.
I remember it was probably like my fifth or sixth match. I was in a college in Victorville, California, and it was packed. And I was wrestling a guy named Damian Dollars, and I would always dress. Well, my first gimmick was the Hangman, which I was under a hood for about a year, or no, probably about 6 months. I was under a hood, and then I started dressing kind of like a Hesher, like Raven style. ECW. Yeah. I would wear the shorts and long hair. At the time, I had blonde long hair. And my trainer out of nowhere came up to me right before I was supposed to go out and wrestle. He goes, "Man, we got to change your look. Well, I want you to look more like a wrestler, man, because you're just wearing fucking jeans and cut up, shirt, anarchy shirt." I said, "What do you want me to do?" He goes, "Here, try this singlet on." So I put a singlet on that he gave me. I said, "Okay, I'm just gonna go out there as a wrestler, quote forbid." And like 3 minutes into the match, I heard the crowd start laughing and chanting like "Ball and Bow," and I was like, "What?" And my fucking tights split all the way up from my ass to my balls, and the whole crowd saw my shit. So I had to end the match quickly and get out of there before someone saw something too much that they couldn't handle.
Yeah, nope.
That's definitely one that comes to mind. I'll tell you another crazy incident. We were at a venue, and it was an outside campground out in San Bernardino area. And I was a heel at the time, and I was getting some pretty good heat, right before the match, and the lights went out on accident. The power went out. So it was completely dark. And all these fans that I just got done talking shit to started throwing rocks in the ring. So we were getting pelted by rocks. So that was pretty scary because you had to basically cover your head and get the fuck out of there. Because obviously you get hit in the head with a rock, it's no fun. But I guess I did my job because they were so pissed off they were throwing rocks at me. But yeah, that was pretty crazy. Having to duck for cover with the big chunky rocks coming at your head.
Oh yeah, nope. I can imagine that was a pretty scary situation. I always like asking that question because I love hearing the stories. I remember talking with JD Griffey, who with Shane Taylor with Shane Taylor Promotions, and he was telling me about a match that he had with Keith Lee, and they clued Keith Lee's mom into this story, and apparently the mom was all in on it. At one point, it was a diamond cutter or a stunner. I'm spacing off on which one right now, but he gives that to her, and then all of a sudden, the crowd was hot, and they run out. Keith Lee running after him, and they get around the corner, and all of a sudden, you see Keith Lee running, but then you see the crowd running behind Keith Lee, and it was just like, oh yeah. Damn, that's nuts.
It's pretty crazy.
Oh yeah. Next one. What is a weapon you would like to avoid getting hit with if you had the choice?
Gusset plates.
That's one that I would imagine would be on a few lists.
I mean, I don't know how some of these workers take it, man, because that shit's not fun. I mean, I've never taken one, but I've definitely felt them, and I've been around them, and I've seen the damage they can do in person to some of the workers I've been on the shows with, and there's no pulling back with those things. I mean, you're definitely getting stabbed, cut, deep.
Yeah.
And, I mean, one comes to mind, my friend Lindsay Snow, she's a hell of a worker. She took one straight to the temple and then literally pulled it out. And you could just see the blood flowing in the holes in her head. And I'm just like, man, I don't know how anyone can do that. I mean, I'm a crazy motherfucker, trust me. But when it comes to like literally ripping your whole skin open and to the point where you could, bleed out with those types of things, because those are sharp as hell, man. I mean, those things they're not no joke, bro. So, I mean, gusset plates is something I definitely will avoid.
I can understand
that. Props to all the crazy people that do them. I mean, listen, that's just you do you guys, because that shit's not for me.
Oh yeah, nope. I can imagine. I know I've asked that to a lot of people on the death match scene, and that one has come up. I know Alex Cologne, another great episode that I had, he mentioned toothpicks. He's like, I'm not doing toothpicks because and I could see it because he was talking about you get hit with one of those and like you might pull it out and it'd be fine, but then you might break off the wrong piece and then you got a piece of toothpick in there getting embedded in your hand and getting infected and shit.
I don't know if you saw it, but my friend Sage Sin Supreme, she's a hell of a worker, and she's doing the deathmatch scene for a long time now out here in California and all over. She recently had a match, and one of the skewers got stabbed with one of the skewers in her arm, and it literally went all the way in. So then referee Patrick Hernandez had to literally grab it with his teeth and pull it out because he couldn't get it with his finger.
Mm-hmm. Ow, my arm hurts just hearing that one. Next one, non-wrestling related. Favorite drink, alcoholic or non, or one of both?
Bullet whiskey and a cold IPA.
That's a very good choice. I know of a few IPAs I like. I am a big fan of Stone Cold's one. That is for sure.
Yeah, that's a good one for sure.
I know.
Sorry, I'm plugging you in real quick because my laptop's going dead real quick.
No worries. I know that I actually have some of the American lager in my fridge. Stone Cold knows how to make a damn beer. That is for sure.
No, he definitely knows how to make a beer, like you said, and I enjoy his El Segundo, his brew, so it's pretty good.
Oh yeah, I only wish that it was actually sold somewhere closer to where I live right now, Omaha, Nebraska, because the closest I can ever find that it's at is 2-3 hours away.
Wow.
Only places I've physically seen it are on a trip for Warrior Wrestling in St. Louis, and I recently was at the Packers-Lions game and found the American lager at a grocery store in Green Bay. Only place that I've been able to find it.
Yeah, that's a bummer.
I know, right? Last but not least, for the random questions, best advice for anybody wanting to get into wrestling?
Make sure you can handle, the fact that it's not just fun and games. You need to realize that this is a business, and it's something that is going to take a toll on your body. But, just like any other sport, you get used to it, getting hit with a baseball, getting tackled. The bumps are never fun, but if it's something that you really want to do, put your heart into it and train and go full force, never half-ass it, because if you're half-assing it, you're wasting everyone's time. You're wasting the trainer's time, even though I'm sure he's going to be happy he's getting your money. But it's one of those things where, at least for my students, because I train guys, I want them to just either tell me that this is something they're going to do and they want to do, and they're going to give it their all, because I want to help them and make them, reach that goal of whatever it may be. I can only lead a horse to water, so much, but in order for the horse to drink, the horse needs to really, show up and lick that water, basically. That's a terrible analogy, but
no, but you bring up a good point, not wanting to half-ass it, because while you might have whatever the trainer, being happy to have your money, but if you're wanting to actually make it worth it and get on shows and, have fans actually enjoy what you're doing, if you're going to just half-ass it, you're not going to get that.
Right. Yep. So show up, work hard, train hard, and, take it as far as you can in this business, because you don't waste people's time and don't waste yourself, don't waste I get it. People are going to do it just for fun, which is cool. It should be fun, but also try to realize that there's guys out there that are sacrificing their families, their actual careers to try to be a pro wrestler on the road, and they're, traveling and paying dues, and, you gotta show up and work hard to make that happen, man. So.
Yeah, no, and anything worth doing is worth, putting in the hard work for. So definitely something too. Very good advice. That is about all I have. I want to first, where can people find you social media wise? So if they don't already have their eyes on you, they can go ahead and get them there.
Yeah, you can follow me on Instagram at Brawlin, BRAWLIN, BO 13, Brawlin Bo 13, or you can follow me on Twitter, just Brawlin Bo, BRAWLINBO. I'm on Facebook for sure. I just don't know like how to, I mean, you just type in, I guess, Brawlin Bo Cooper, it'll pop up on Facebook somehow.
Definitely. I'll definitely be putting information for that in the descriptions of both, YouTube and podcast versions of this episode.
Appreciate it.
To thank you for taking the time to talk to me tonight. Glad we were able to
Finally make it happen.
Able to finally make it happen. Definitely. But like I said,
Sounds good.
That is about all I have. Thank
Cool.
you, and best of luck down there in SoCal.
Thanks, my man. I appreciate you having me, Big Mo. And if you come out here, we'll have to have a beer soon.
Oh, definitely. I'm definitely having some of my friends down there in the wrestling scene constantly telling me I need to get down there. So I imagine we'll make it happen.
Awesome, my dude. Hit me up if you do.
Definitely.
All right, brother. Have a good night, man. Thank you.
You too.
Take care.